Welcome to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Hi, everyone. You listen to the Sports Scouting Report. I'm your host, Lee Brecheen. Our co-host today is our future producer for our podcast, Jace LeJeune. When I say future, for videos.
Right. I've been producer for the audio.
And so Jace is learning how to do a production for TV, basically. And we've been working on that behind the scenes. And it's a lot. And so he's learning how to do that, and which is going to help him out. But today's show, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about the playoff games that were played this past weekend. Tomorrow, actually Wednesday, we're going to talk about the games that are slated for this weekend. So we won't do that today.
Right.
We're going to talk about LSU's bowl game, their opponent, Kansas State. I'm a very big fan of their program. And we're going to talk about, pro football, a little bit about Joe Burrow, since LSU fans watched the game like me. A lot of them did. And we're going to talk about just a lot of miscellaneous stuff, playoffs, the championship games over the weekend. So we'll have a little different variety of taste today. It just won't just be LSU. And I want to talk about Billy Napier, too, going to Florida. He took Jabbar Jaluk with him and his D coordinator, I believe. So,
Patrick Toney, yep.
So, and it's not over, it's just we'll see. We'll talk a little bit about LSU, potential coaches that might be hired with Coach Kelly. And I'll talk a little bit about not so much who he's going to hire, but how long he's been around and how many coaches he knows. So, he's got so many coaching trees going back to Grand Valley State when he was the coach. We'll talk about that. So let's go ahead and go into our first segment, which would be our two playoff games that were played this past weekend, private schools. It's confusing to the average Joe because there's three locations for playoff games, and let's just throw it out just because a lot of people get confused. I even do. There's Ullman Stadium, which hosts, playoff games at Tulane. There's ULL Stadium that's going to be hosting this weekend, and there's the Superdome. So if that's confusing to you, it's confusing to me still.
It is. It's confusing to me, too.
So, Jace, we're starting with Ullman Stadium.
Right. So those games are out the way.
Right.
So that
no more.
narrows it
all right.
down.
So that was at Tulane. And let's start with Lafayette Christian was going for 5 state titles in a row against St. Charles Catholic out of Laplace.
Right.
St. Charles Catholic wins. They had a couple of block punts.
Yep.
Game changer there on special teams. And, Coach Monica left that program in great shape with a lot of seniors, a lot of experienced guys, Jace. They had most of their 22 were seniors. And I think they took that role of like Nick Saban, like, what did he say?
Rat poison.
Rat poison.
Yep.
Everybody's talking about the other team. Nobody thinks we can win. And guess what? That's what happens sometimes. But congratulations to St. Charles Catholic in Laplace. They had lost a few the last few years with Monica, some close games.
Yeah, this is their second state championship they've ever won.
And they played in several.
Yeah, they played in a lot of them.
And this is a new coach.
Yeah, which is Frank's nephew.
First year.
Yep.
Which, man, another game we're going to talk about is a first-year coach, but we'll get to that in a minute. But first-year coaching and former ULL running back, the head coach, the nephew for St. Charles Catholic. We'll talk about Coach
Wayne Stein.
Wayne Stein, and he was a great player at St. Charles Catholic, Jace, back in the day. When we started our magazine back in 2000 or 2001 or 2, I believe, he was a player. And he went to UL and got into coaching, and it seems like he's been in coaching his whole time since he played at UL. And let's talk about that game, but Lafayette Christian was coming off a huge win over Newman.
They were.
And it looked like it was just going to be another
which I called, And I thought after that game that LCA was the runaway favorite. After seeing the game, what they did against Arch Manning and Newman, I thought that, hey, they're going to run away against St. Charles Catholic. No offense, St. Charles Catholic, but just the team I saw that night, I was like, it's going to be tough to be that team.
Well, Newman's moving. They're not moving, but thank God that Lafayette Christian's moving, so they'll have a chance to win one next year if Arch comes back and doesn't early enroll, right?
Right.
And Newman will have the team without having to face Lafayette Christian next year.
Yeah, and just looking at, when calling their game, all their guys were really coming back. I mean, if you really look at it, you lose Bordelon, but you get the younger Bordelon back. You get Will Randall, the tight end, back.
Yeah.
Kyle Donaldson, the receiver. I mean, there's still a lot of talent that will be coming back next year. They can, with Arch coming back, they have another chance at it. And I think next year could really be the year that they finally break through.
And I hope he doesn't early enroll into a college. He needs another year of high school football.
Yeah.
He's a late bloomer just like his uncles. I mean, Peyton wasn't polished as a senior, junior. Neither was Eli. So, they're all late bloomers. And, Arch is going to be a great player. It's just he's not polished yet. He's only, 16 maybe?
Right, and he has the highest ceiling of the three because he's athletic. He can run, unlike the other two.
I think it's the media putting too much pressure too fast in this recruiting world. I think the fans, when they see a guy ranked number 1 in the class, they think, well, he's Joe Montana already.
Right.
He's Joe Burrow. No, that's not how it works with 16 and 15-year-old kids. Some are based on the upside. Some are based on where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Like Holstein at Zachary is more advanced.
Was very impressed with him on Friday.
Arch will be there in another year.
Yeah.
So, it's just, people want to argue that, and I understand. But I've seen this play out many times, so don't put too much stock, I believe, in where he is now and where he will be. There's a guy at Lafayette High School. I want to throw another quarterback out there, Grayson Sagne.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is a junior, 6'3", 190. He's another phenomenal player. Actually, if he played at Newman, he would look just like Arch. He's really good. He's going to be a senior in the class of 223. Another quarterback, Jace.
Right.
Grayson is super athletic, great form, great release, legit 6'3". The other game I want to talk about, first-year coach David Semino wins his first state title. Your alma mater, Catholic High.
Catholic High. Go Bears.
They beat the Jesuit Blue Jays. Now, it's painful today, Jace, for a lot of the Blue Jays alumni. That was a huge game for them. And Coach Manally's first year at Jesuit coming over from De La Salle, I thought he did a phenomenal job with Jesuit. Jesuit will probably be back in it. I'm predicting right now next year that if they get the quarterback position worked out. They got a young, great quarterback coming up behind the kid they have this year.
Yeah,
so.
Right. And for Catholic, it was 14-10 and early fourth quarter. And he thought, okay, Jesuit at least will get 1 or 2 more opportunities with the football. Catholic held the football. One of the most incredible drives I've ever seen, Lee. They held the ball for 9 minutes. Jesuit never saw the ball again. They ran out the last 9 minutes of the game out, and they played keep away from Olivier and Jesuit. Jesuit never got the ball back, and Catholic won 14-10.
And here's what's interesting, Jace. Emory Jones proved his stock in that O-line.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Beal and Emory Jones and some good-looking juniors on that O-line and the fullback we've always talked about.
Prince Edwards, right.
Man, when you got a wall like that, when you got a semi-college O-line like that, that's why you win championships at all levels.
Yeah. And that was the key because you look at Catholic can win in a variety of ways. They have Shelton Sampson for crying out loud too, and Daniel Beal is a very talented quarterback.
Yeah.
But they don't need them when you got that offensive line. You got great running backs in the backfield like Singleton and Tay Nicholas had himself a great game.
Yeah.
And you can just, if you win the line of scrimmage and dominate the line of scrimmage, which you said was going to be the key factor for this game, who was going to win, Catholic's offensive line or Jesuit's defensive line? It was Catholic's offensive line. That proved to be the difference in that football game.
And, it's really crazy, which is a good thing. And people go, well, why does Catholic High play so many running backs? This is why, because Tay wasn't the hot hand early in the season.
No, it was Corey.
And Corey got hurt, Singleton.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then this guy takes it on to be the guy. And then they had a lot of injuries at the running back position, but because of their depth, their third team back, actually, Tay Nicholas looked like a starter. He was great. And, look, the defense, a shout-out to that defense at Catholic High, too, with, Woodward coming back after only a month.
That made a difference.
Toston, Those two guys are really a great pair on the D-line. The nose guard did a good job, but, man, Jesuit, again, this is a tough day for them. But you know what? They made the state championship game. They beat John Curtis twice. They beat Brother Martin twice. That's never happened before in the history of the Blue Jays program, and they're young. I think Manali's going to bring them back. I really do. I think it's going to be another Jesuit. I'm going to go ahead and say it now. It's probably going to be Jesuit and Catholic again next year. Yeah, most likely it will be. And, I mean, Ryan Manali, it's going to be sooner or later he breaks through that wall because this is his fourth state championship he played in. He lost 3 at De La Salle. He lost this one at Jesuit. I mean, sooner or later he's going to break through and finally get that championship. And Curtis loses Buddy Taylor at quarterback, right? Brother Martin loses Mamahat. Yeah. So a lot of teams in that Catholic League are losing their quarterbacks. Right. And 4-year starters. Buddy Taylor, I think, was a 4-year guy. Yeah, Mamahat was a 4-year guy. Yeah, 4-year guy. St. Aug loses a lot of seniors. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Scotlandville is going to be a young team next year outside their quarterback. Sure. Yep. So, I mean, it's going to be a path to, if Jesuit plugs in the young quarterback who I like, who's about 6'4", Jace. Yep. And Bill's going to be the veteran. Yeah. He's going to be the veteran guy coming out. I mean, that's a 2-year star. He's only a junior. He's still got 2 more years left. But yeah, I mean, and Catholic will have Barry Remo now step up at running back. That's another running back that's been playing a lot. They got more coming. Yep. And then you got Sampson back. He's going to probably be the greatest year he's had next year. Yeah. Your senior year's your best year as a receiver. And I think next year you're going to see more of an aerial attack with this team next year, knowing that guys like Emory are going to be gone and a lot of their offensive linemen will be graduating. So it'll be a little bit different. They lose a lot on defense, but they have a lot coming back. Yeah. Because they play so many guys like St. Thomas More does or Notre Dame or Crowley. Yep. And one more nugget about going back to St. Charles Catholic, because John Curtis fans are happy about it because they're the only team to win 5 straight state championships, and they're able to prevent that from happening, St. Charles Catholic. And who says that special teams doesn't matter, like you said, because they blocked 3 kicks and an extra point miss and also forced 4 turnovers on defense. All that. St. Charles Catholic played all 3 phases well, and that's what won the game, because offensive yardage and stuff, LCA outgained them in every offensive category, but offense, defense, special teams, that all played a factor. It was a complete game for them, and not a lot of people saw this coming because a lot of people were saying this was a point spread game in high school football. LCA was like a 21-point favorite, but it just comes to show you why you play the game. And it's high school football. Yep. It's 17, 16, 15, 14-year-old kids. It's not like Green Bay playing Detroit, I mean, it's a little different in high school football. But I hope Frank Monica gets a ring, too. Yeah. I mean you think about it, these are his guys. Yeah. I mean, Wayne Stein, maybe get that extra ring to the legend Frank Monica. That's not easy what Wayne Stein did, because anytime you have to replace, it's like going in there and replacing Nick Saban and winning a championship your first year. I mean he's literally the godfather of the River Parish. Yeah, right. I mean, that is a legend you're replacing his shoes in, and that's an unbelievable job he did just to replace a legend like Frank Monica and win the state championship. It's amazing, Jace, at one time that you had so many legends coaching at one time in the River Parish. You had Tim DeTillier at Lutcher. Yep. You had Monica at St. Charles. Yeah, Bill Stubbs at Riverside. And at the beginning you had Valdez at St. James. Right. And he's a legend already. Yeah. And at West St. John, you had a great coach there for a long time too. So Laurie DuPont. So right. I mean, it's just incredible coaching, and if you extend it to Hahnville, Destrehan, they have great coaches. And I mean, we'll get into some high school stuff, and let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, let's talk a little more high school football. We'll talk about the public side of some of the games that were played. Sure. And I want to talk about Zachary Destrehan when we come back, and then we're going to talk about pro football, Joe Burrow, the LSU coaches, who they might hire, and also the LSU Bowl game that's going to be played in the Texas Bowl. LSU's second time in Texas Bowl. I went to the other one, by the way. And Leonard Fournette had a pretty good game. It was a kind of a crazy game.
Patrick Mahomes was the quarterback too.
I mean,
Texas Tech.
I mean, if Mahomes would have had the ball one more time, they would have beat LSU. That's how good it was.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. You're listening to the Sports Scouting Report. I'm your host, Lee Brecheen. Today, co-host Jace LeJeune. We'll be right back. Listen, whatever you're driving right now, Tommy Harvey wants it. Bring it in to Harvey Subaru, Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City, or John Harvey Toyota. They're paying big bucks for all trades right now. They'll cut you a check right there. Tell them Lee sent you. Welcome back. We're going to continue on talking about high school football playoff games this past weekend. The games this coming weekend, we're going to talk about Wednesday. So we'll have a show just on that. We'll have a video version Wednesday on the games being played this coming weekend at UL Stadium and the Superdome.
Yep.
So it'll be kind of unique. I do not like the split. I do not like how everything's split up on locations with championship games the same day.
Right.
It splits up the fan base. It splits up the fans to the dome. I really like, this is the first time I'm saying this. It's the first time I actually can look at it, Jason, and say, you know what? We don't need 3 locations for championship games.
Right.
We need 1.
Yeah, and it's the Superdome. Just look at it,
We
Lee.
need 1.
Just look at it. Just last week when Washita Christian did a video on their Facebook page, and it was Coach Fitzhugh announcing to the team that they were playing in the Dome. All the kids went ecstatic when they heard that they were playing in the Dome. And also, Coach McGee from Logansport was talking about it too. Like, kids were crying. Like, winning that football game and going to the Dome. It means something for these kids to play in the Superdome, and these kids should be rewarded by doing so. And that's why I don't think it's fair for now, not taking anything away from Newman Stadium and Cajun Field, but playing in the Dome, playing where Super Bowls were played, playing like that is like. At one point, one of the, you'd say, nod wonders of the sporting world was the Superdome, and it still is. So
it's not about Tulane Stadium and ULL Stadium. It's about everybody being in one place for one weekend. And that was tradition.
Yep.
And I think if you talk to any of the old-timers, any of the people now hitting their 40s or 30s, for 20-plus years, you just had it circled that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're going to New Orleans, you're getting a room, and you're going to see everybody in the state for 3 days.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about going to this game at this city or that city. And look, if this was being done for 20 years in Shreveport, then it would be the same way in Shreveport. It's just, it's history.
Yeah, I feel like everybody should be together. It's kind of like a, I want to say religious experience, but like it's an event. Everybody is there. Everybody is playing. It's equal opportunity for everybody to play on the same field, and then playing in different fields. Like for example, this Saturday when Edie White plays, we'll talk about it more. U High, that's the only game because it's just going to be those fans at that game.
It's not going to be unless you're in Lafayette area and you can get there in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But you're not going to skip
one game for 5 games over a weekend. I mean, that's
so you're going to have the guy from Lafayette, and I know some coaches that are going to say, "I'm going to New Orleans for the weekend for the public schools,
right?"
And one private game, And I'm not going to be in UL to watch the 2 games. Yeah, they're going tradition.
Yeah,
and it's horrible. It's gotten to the point I didn't say anything for years, Jay, so just kind of watching to see how it would be.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you walk around the Superdome 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, and I went 25 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
You could walk in any restaurant near the Dome, and you could run into 300 coaches.
Yep.
From 300 high schools.
See all the different fan bases. Like, they're all there.
You could go to 3 different hotels in New Orleans, knowing this is somebody staying at these 3 hotels, and you can go in there and meet up with anybody that you want to run into.
Right.
And now it's, like I said, it's just scattered. But look, we're going to go ahead and talk about Zachary beating a good Destrehan team.
Right. And I was there at that game, got to see him a little bit, and it was a really good game. And just a little bit before you go into your spill, Lee, about that game. Just at that game, it was 14-13 at halftime. But it was one of those games where it was 14-13, and you thought Zachary's dominating this football game, even though the score said 14-13, just the way that they're able to play. I thought I was really impressed with Zachary's defense. They were flying all over the field, making plays. And especially against a bigger offensive line, those two backs they have, they really dominated that game up front. And then Holstein, man, some of those deep balls that he was able to throw, I mean, he throws a beautiful deep ball. I mean, it's seeing him play and seeing those receivers play. He's legit, and there's a reason why he's committed to Texas A&M. But that was a fun game to watch, and really Zachary, I mean, they really impressed me the other night watching play. A really good Dexter football team.
And Charles Robertson's a real deal, committed to ULL receiver. I think he's an SEC guy.
Yeah,
like Hilton.
Yep,
who's signed with LSU from Zachary. I thought Zachary was more physical.
Yeah, that's what came out of it too.
And I thought they were smaller than Dexter.
Right.
But they just came out with authority.
Yeah,
kind of like Alabama-Georgia game.
Right.
Alabama brought it, and being a home game, but Zachary's just some reason they've got this intensity to them.
And they're not afraid of anybody. They've always been in the big lights. And that was a great point you made, Lee, because I watched both those teams warm up. I mean, Dexter looked like a pro team out there.
Yeah.
And then look at Zachary, and I was like, I mean, Zachary was big, but they didn't look like Dexter.
Right.
But that shows you why you play the game.
Yeah, and sometimes size, if you're not quicker in some of these spots, can hurt you. But Dexter's going to be loaded next year. They're going to be back in it. They do a great job at Dexter. And look, one of the best programs in the state is Dexter.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and talk about Logansport beating the Oak Grove pick I had.
Yep.
And I'm happy for Coach McGee. I'm sure the Logansport community's mad at me because I predicted Oak Grove.
Oh, myself included.
Until you beat the champs, which you did.
Right.
I'm saluting you, Logansport.
Yep.
And now they're in the driver's seat to win a state championship. I think Kevin McGee does a great job. He used to play quarterback at Logansport back in the day.
He won a state championship at Logansport as a player and as a coach.
Right.
Yep.
And, he played at Northwestern State in Natchitoches, and he's a great guy. He's got a lot of coaching years left in him, and they've got a great quarterback in Boykins. They've got some great receivers. I think they're going to be tough to beat now that the big bad Oak Grove has been beaten. So,
yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about a lot about tomorrow.
We'll talk about those games
yep.
For Wednesday. And I'll watch Westgate Friday night.
That was the eye-opener.
And
that was.
You know what's scary about the Westgate Edna Carr game? And salute and proud of you guys at Westgate, man. I've seen you lose a lot of semifinal games over the last few years. I've seen some great teams at Westgate. I've seen them with Jared Mitchell and Josh Butte. I've seen them with
just recently with Kayshawn Butte.
Yep. They've been loaded. They've had 4 teams that were state championship teams that didn't get there. And what's scary about this game, Jace, in the first half against Edna Carr, it was almost 17-0.
Wow.
They were driving on Edna Carr. They, instead of going for 3rd and 3 running it, they threw a bomb in the end zone. And then 4th and 3, they threw a long bomb to Danny Lewis.
Okay.
And I can't blame them. You got a 6'5".
Right. Yeah.
But
use them.
It was almost 17-0. But the intensity that Westgate brought, I have not seen that against Edna Carr ever. I mean, when I say intensity, the D-line and O-line played like they were so upset and so disrespected. You know what I mean by the media?
Yeah. I mean,
they were playing out of their mind.
It's rat poison.
Yeah, when I'm saying out of their mind, Westgate's D-line, O-line linebackers, they were hitting they looked like a bunch of Devin Whites out there hitting. I mean, they were incredible. And the quarterback from Edna Carr was in shock, I could tell. He was he's not used to getting hit that much.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And when they were sacking him as much as they did, it took him out of his game. And then they couldn't run the ball. They had 2 running backs get hurt in the first half, Edna Carr. They were down to their 3rd running back. And so it made them throw the ball more, and they don't really have to usually throw it a lot because they do whatever they want to do at Edna Carr. But Westgate Brennan Landry had a great catch late in the game to help things. And Doucette is a phenomenal player. I've been watching him for 3 years. He's probably 140, soaking wet.
He's quick, though.
5'8".
Yeah.
But he runs one of those legit 4.3s.
Uh-huh.
And Southeastern, and everybody ought to be taking him as a slot receiver. Because when he hits the line, Jace, he did delay draws all game. And you would think that Edna Carr's big D-line linebackers, they couldn't get him. He was so fast. He was so fast. And, when you're surprising a team as fast as Edna Carr, Doucette was the fastest guy on the field that night. Now, you got to realize they got the fastest player in the state at Edna Carr.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right?
Right.
Aaron Anderson.
Yep.
But Doucette was the fastest human being on that field that night, which
amazing.
I think it blew Edna Carr away. Like you watch the film, and then they're like, yeah, we've seen speed.
It's one thing to witness it live.
But Doucette comes in there, and at the snap, it looked like he was running a 3-flat 40 going through the line. And those guys were like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
How can he do this on us?
Well, and the Cars used to being the fastest, most athletic team, and sometimes they had to play. We talked about it too. Was
Westgate's got talent.
If there was one team on that side of the bracket that athletically, as like the starting 11, the starting 22 on both sides that can compete with Carr, is Westgate. My biggest problem was, and the Carr was going to wear Westgate down, but that wasn't the case. They. First half, I was still doubting them. I was like, okay, they'll make adjustments. They'll wear them down second half, and the Car's going to pull it out. That just wasn't the case. And
the Car got tired.
Yeah.
Well, they were both tired, but 22 kids going against about 50 kids in and out. Man, my hat's off to Westgate. And you talk about an emotional coach after the game.
Oh, I can imagine.
Antone was just and I would have been too, because the whole community of Westgate was at that game, Jace. They packed the stands. And I think they're going to bring 5,000 people.
I tell you, I'm excited. Well, we're going to talk about it obviously a lot tomorrow.
Nish, New Iberia High School, they're going to support them.
Yep.
New Iberia Catholic's going to support them. Lauraville, all those teams are in that area are going to come to watch Westgate. They're going to probably bring total, I would just guess here, 10,000 people.
Yeah.
The whole community of New Iberia.
Oh, yeah, for that moment. And that's going to be, we're going to talk about the game a lot tomorrow.
And one final thing, because we could do 2 hours today, and we don't want to do 2 hours.
Yeah, we want to save some of the stuff for tomorrow,
Really tough loss for St. Martinville.
Yeah.
And really tough loss for Church Point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Those were two coaches that have been around forever trying to get to the Dome.
So the Voiles,
yeah. So close against Manning.
Close. They could have easily won that game.
Yeah, unfortunately, somebody has to lose, and it's really sad. But kudos to the winners.
Yeah.
And Manny's got a chance to win another state championship with Jess Curtis and his team.
Yeah.
And Avoyles, hang your hats high, because, man, what a great year you had. What a great year St. Martinville had.
Right.
What a great year Church Point had.
Yeah.
Take your hats off to those coaches, and also Oak Grove. I mean, some of the guys that we predicted or whatever, but congratulations on a phenomenal season. You really did a great job. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about LSU football in the Texas Bowl, and I'm going to give you my 2 cents about Kansas State. We'll be right back. If you need a paint job or repairs to your vehicle, go see Madine's Collision Center, located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on Kincaid Avenue. The number to call is 357-7983. That's 357-7983. Your Baton Rouge Accident Advisors. Welcome back. You listen to the Sports Scouting Report. I'm Lee Brecheen, your host. Jace LeJeune's in today as our co-host. Jace, LSU's in the Texas Bowl. It's the second time they're
heard.
Obviously, we talked about Texas Tech when they had Mahomes, and I was at that game, and that was a shootout. It was a great game to watch.
It was an entertaining game.
It was nerve-wracking if you're an LSU fan.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes was
because every time he got the ball, he looked like he was with the Chiefs then.
Yep.
And he wasn't highly recruited. How about that?
Yeah, I know.
And now you got Kansas State, who plays everybody hard. They remind me of Iowa. You're going to play a team that's going to just be physical. Jace, they have a lot of pride. They play as a team. If you don't show up and play hard, they'll beat you. They're not more talented than LSU. Their starting quarterback might not even play. He got hurt late in the season, which is really a factor because he's good. And they got a little running back, 5'5",
Deuce Vaughn,
170, who plays like he's 290.
Another like Darren Sproles who played for him years before.
He's going to give LSU trouble because he can run outside. But let's face it, if LSU was to lose this bowl game, it's because they would beat themselves and not show up.
Yeah, I mean, just talk about just talent, just raw talent. LSU has Kansas State beat by a mile. But like we've been saying, we've been preaching this. That's been like the theme of the show, Lee, is you have to play the game. And like, it doesn't matter what the team looks like. And we talk about LCA losing. We talk about, Destrehan, all that. I mean, you have to play the game. It doesn't matter who the more talented team. It's just who's the best team, the team that executes the most that given day.
And here's the deal. We still got 2 weeks to see who's going to play in the game for LSU. How many opt-outs?
Who's going to opt out?
Who's going to be ineligible, right, for grades? They don't ever say it, but let's just go ahead and say that now. Because guess what? Exams are this week.
Yep, exams are this week.
And if you don't do well in exams, then in a week you got maybe, I don't want to say, but the last couple of bowl games, a lot of guys didn't play. And that was another part of Orgeron's problem with his team, was being on top of the academics. Remember the Fiesta Bowl that LSU won in 2018?
Right.
There were 25 or 30 guys that didn't play. Most of them was grades.
Right, and a lot of it was cornerbacks. I mean,
right, they had 4 for the whole game.
They would have been thrilled if Derek Stingley would have been eligible to play.
So, I'm sitting here today saying LSU would beat Kansas State, but it's an even game if LSU has a lot of guys not going to play. And let's just see what happens. Exam week's this week. 30-year-olds are not thinking about that. Jace knows. He's just finished college. We got interns.
Oh, yeah?
We know about exam week because we got people working with us that are in college. And hopefully these kids are taking care of business. And
they're student athletes, but they really should be that's why it's students before athletes, because you got to get your work done in the classroom above all things. And it's a very important time for these guys to get their acts together and finish the semester on a high note.
And Brad Davis is a great young man who I watched him play in Baton Rouge football. He was a great player in high school. He mentioned the other day he's from North Baton Rouge. He walked on to Oklahoma, did a great job there. It's crazy he didn't walk on at LSU, but usually a coach didn't tell him to. He probably got an offer there.
From Bel Air High School.
He was a Bengal.
Yeah, Bel Air Bengal.
And he was right around Weldy Moore right after.
Yeah, he was right before my dad became the head coach of Bel Air. Yeah. So he missed Brad by a couple of years.
And I think he's going to do a great job. He's done a great job with those lines, considering he didn't go through spring. Again,
I'm happy that he's getting this opportunity. Yeah, I'm happy he is.
And I'm hoping the Bradfords of the world play that have been hurt. Some guys that have been hurt. And you know what? No one's talking about Stingley, whose surgery was how long ago?
Let's see.
A couple months?
Yeah, it was months ago. Yep.
I mean, can he play?
After the Auburn game?
Yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I have, just so the listeners know, I have no idea of how long he would be out. I'm just saying, if he could play, if he recovered from it, and he could play, I hope he would, right? Because he's, it always helps your draft stock to go out and show that you can finish with your team. I'm just saying this. I don't know. I mean, he might not be able to play. He might not be recovered.
Right.
Elias Ricks, man, it's a shame he's in the portal that he's not, but they've been winning without these guys.
I mean, that's been a good sign, too. It's been the second, third string guys they want to play, and they're showing their worth over the last couple of games. And really, I've been impressed with how Durante has really coached his team this last couple of weeks. With how the defense has been performing.
Blake Baker's done a good job at linebacker. Damone Clark should have won the Buckets.
That was an absolutely
that's a sham.
That's a robbery.
That's a sham.
Yeah, that is a robbery. Now Dean is a good linebacker, but you look at the numbers. I mean, Damone Clark has him beat by a mile.
I am so tired and fed up with this award ceremony based on who's in the playoffs. It's getting to where. Wasn't the trophy established for the best player?
That's what it's supposed to be for.
And if it's not for the best player, what are you doing? Damone has 135 tackles. All right.
Dean only had 61. Right. He had more than double his output.
He had 5.5 sacks. Dean had 5.
14 and a half tackles for loss. I think he only had 8 I mean,
we're
all the
talking
numbers.
about a guy after this bowl game will have 145 to 150 tackles. That never happens in college football, ever. Devin White didn't have 135 tackles.
No.
Brady James never had 135 tackles. Trev Falk never had 135 tackles. Look at the great linebackers I'm mentioning, Jace. Deion Jones never had 135 tackles.
They're talking at Texas A&M broadcast, and they're talking to Coach Tommy Moffitt. All the great players Tommy Moffitt's been around. He said physically, Damone Clark's the best linebackers ever come through LSU.
And people, you can't give up on a kid because the light came on this year. It just came on, and he finally it all connected. And sometimes that's how it works out because he didn't play a lot prior to last year. He played his first year.
19, he played sparingly.
Yeah.
But he wasn't the guy in 19, and he had to kind of adjust to that.
But man, I mean, look, he could end up realistically, Jace, if he has 15 tackles in the bowl game, 150 tackles.
He can talk about guys with that has to play the game, and that's why sitting out bowl game should not be the way to go. Is if he has himself a great game in the bowl game in front of a lot of people, a lot of scouts, he's a first-round pick. So he can make himself a lot of money if he plays his football.
I think he's a first-round pick with a good game in the Senior Bowl.
Yep.
A good practice, by the way. The practice
is what they really look at.
The game's for the fans.
And for them, too, to enjoy. Yeah. But really, the practice throughout the week,
he's
what they look at.
First-round pick if he has a good Senior Bowl practice week. And he's definitely, you know why? Because he's a 4.0 student. You don't have those very often.
He went to our TV show, and I was just so impressed with how he was as a kid. As a student, he's a great guy, and I couldn't be more happy for him and what he was able to do this year.
And think about it: Devin White is 6 foot tall, 240, right? Granite stone.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is 6'3", granite stone, 245. Yeah. We're talking about a guy 3 inches taller at Mike linebacker. All right, we're talking about another size level of Devin White. You don't think this guy will go in the first round, being that they don't make him and he'll run, Jace.
He'll press all and make all the combine numbers.
He'll run a 4.5 at 245. He'll blow people away. He might be one of the first 5 picks in the draft, depending on his time with the 40 time. And again, he ran a 4.5 out of high school at 230. He was 6'3", 230 in high school of Granite Rock. We're going to go take a break. When we come back, we're going to have our final segment. We're going to talk about Joe Burrow and my 3 cents on coaches that Coach Kelly could bring in. Not so much names, but his connections. So I'm not worried about it. We'll be right back. Be sure to take your car and truck for all your tire needs to Treads and Care Tire Company located in Central. The number to call is 331-8144. Family owned and operated since 1971. That's Treads and Care Tire Company. Welcome back. You're listening to the Sports Scouting Report. I'm your host, Lee Brecheen. I'm joined today by Jace LeJeune, our co-host today, our producer, our editor for our magazine, Louisiana Football Magazine. Go to lafootballmagazine.com. You can still get a preview issue for your family if you're a new listener, a North or South copy, or a digital. This segment, we're going to talk about real briefly Joe Burrow, Jace. I watched the Bengals yesterday. They don't have an O-line. And
we knew that coming in.
It showed. And the Chargers and Bosa, and believe it or not, Fajuco was on the D-line.
Yeah, he was starting
for him. He had 2 tackles.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But the D-line it looked like watching college football this year for LSU where Max Johnson's getting blitzed every play and they're sacking him. It looked like the A&M game.
Yeah.
And it looked like Burrow didn't even have time to wind the ball back, to throw it. It's a shame that they have him and Chase, and they got a good tight end, CJ, and they got some good defense, but the offensive line is so bad.
Yeah, and they've actually done a pretty decent job of covering that, that great flaw. But I think for the first time, it really showed up.
They got exposed by San Diego's Los Angeles. I'm sorry.
You
said these
call San Diego.
Changes are killing me.
I still call Las Vegas Oakland,
The Los Angeles Chargers, not the San Diego Chargers. I'm living in the Dan Fouts world. Okay?
Yeah.
Kellen Winslow Sr.
Right.
So, anyway, Joe Burrow, he broke, I think, his pinky or fractured it or something like that. But I don't even know how. Look, for him to play the whole game with a pinky that you've got to hold the ball with, Jace, it's hard to fathom how he did it. And his toughness, my respect. Look, I think people respect him more after yesterday than ever before because most quarterbacks go, okay, I'm out.
He was always tough. I mean, that was something you don't question.
But, I mean, and then they dropped a lot of balls yesterday. I mean, they didn't help him.
Jamar didn't have a great game. He actually dropped a touchdown and resulted in an interception. It went right through
and they
Jamar's
were down by
hands
2 points. They were losing like 24-0.
They came all the way back 24-22. I think there was a scoop and score from Los Angeles, and that pretty much broke the game open.
Joe Mixon fumbled, and they're going in to take the lead, and that was the ball game basically. Yeah,
but talking about the NFL right now, Lee. If you've seen, we talk about parity in the NFL.
A lot, it's big time.
It's like 4 or 5 different teams are at 8-4 in the AFC. And if you look at the NFC, we talk about how the Saints, how they've lost 5 in a row. They're still in it. It's amazing about how the NFL is this year.
I think Seattle's still in it.
Yeah,
with 8 losses because you have that 17 games this year.
Right, they're 2 games out of it.
I mean, it's really crazy. You might see a Super Bowl with 2 8-8 teams. I mean, 2 8 and.
It would be like 8 and 9 teams, right?
But I mean, you still got Brady in Tampa Bay. They still rolling. Gronk had a touchdown yesterday. Tampa Bay, they tend to do better as the season goes on. Fournette's actually having a great year for them.
Yeah, he has.
And Justin Jefferson, they lost on the last play yesterday.
Kudos to the Lions for finally winning. They've actually been really tough this year, even though the wins haven't come their way. They played in a lot of close football games.
Who wants to get drafted by Detroit? I mean, listen, no offense to Detroit, Michigan, okay? But if you're a player this year for this year's coming draft and you're sitting on your couch with your mom and dad and you're a first-round pick, in Detroit, they're going to have the first pick probably. And they say, you have been drafted by the Detroit Lions.
Oh, boy.
Please show the parents and the kid and see how they react because, man, nobody wants to go to a 1-16
I feel sorry for them. I really do.
And when will Detroit go to a playoff game? I'm not even talking about a Super Bowl but, I mean, it's so bad. I remember the Saints were there at one time way back. And I remember when Seattle was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Arizona was horrible.
Yeah.
Whenever the St. Louis Cardinals. But, I mean, let's see what happens. But I hate to say it. I would just not want to be a Lion.
Yeah, that's a tough place to live in. Ask Jared Goff if he rather lives in Los Angeles or Detroit.
Ask Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, right. Ask both those quarterbacks.
Who's a Los Angeles Ram with Whitworth protecting him, right?
Yeah. With Odell throwing the ball, and he's got, all these stars just everywhere around
Nobody
him.
wants to be in Detroit.
No. And then
it's crazy. And my Pittsburgh Steelers are 6-5-1.
They're still in. I mean, that was a gutsy win for them last night over the Ravens.
Roethlisberger looks, man, he's just.
Well, this is it. I mean, this is his last shot. This is his last year. This is his farewell tour.
I will say this. Najee Harris is improving from Alabama. He's still learning how to run in that league. He's not just the biggest, baddest dude anymore. He's got to figure that out.
Yeah. It still is. Yeah, you can tell he's a rookie adjusting to the NFL.
He runs high, and I think that's hurt him in the league. He's got to lean a little more. Derrick Henry even does that. But when you're 230,
when you're 240, you just bounce off.
Najee's learning. I'm a big bad dude, but I'm not a bad dude in this league until I learn the whole game. And he's getting better.
He's adjust. It's taking him a while to adjust.
Pittsburgh needs him to become a 100-yard back every week.
They do.
And Claypool can't really do it by himself.
Now I've been impressed with their tight end.
He's good. He's Penn State.
Yeah, he's really good. Fire move.
And this is a great lead-in, Jace, to tight ends for LSU.
Yep.
So LSU hires Coach Kelly, and the recruiting, in my opinion, in my 2 cents, for this team to compete for a national championship, which they could because they got a lot of great young guys they played this year, they need to go out and get a portal tight end or sign a great high school tight end like Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. They need to get a guy, and look, that's Kelly's specialty.
Offensive line and tight ends.
And defensive lineman.
Yep.
And a linebacker or two. And restock corner. They can win a national championship or be in a game immediately with this guy at coach. He's going to weed out some guys. Let's get into coaching. I want to bring this up to the listeners, and I just think it's very interesting. For those that are worried that LSU is going to hire the wrong coach, or they're worried people aren't going to want to come to coach with Kelly, scratch that. This man is well respected as a coach. A lot of people want to coach with Coach Kelly, and here's why. Grand Valley State, he won a national championship. A couple of them, I believe. He was phenomenal at Cincinnati and Notre Dame and had 4 10-win seasons in a row at Notre Dame, okay? It's hard to do.
Yeah, I believe they said like the only 2 coaches ever done it were like Nick Saban and
Newt Rockne, maybe?
Yeah,
Or Ara Parsegan, one of them. But, here's the deal. When you coach at all these colleges, Jason, you do good, you got a lot of guys that leave you and become coaches. So his coaching pedigree, he knows a lot of young up-and-coming coordinators that coached under him. Going back to the Michigan school,
Central Michigan. Yep.
Central Michigan, Grand Valley State, Cincinnati, and Notre Dame. I counted over 50 former assistants under Kelly that are really good coaches right now in college football. And you think he's going to have trouble bringing people in? He's got the pick of the litter just on the guys that came in and learned from him.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a matter of who he wants. I know Joe Brady's available. He got fired from the Carolina Panthers.
But does he want to go back to
And does
college?
Kelly want him?
Yeah.
Because Kelly's got guys that coached under him that are now at big schools right now doing well. So fans only know about Brady because he was here. He didn't do really good in the NFL. Now, McCaffrey was hurt. That kind of hurts your whole offense.
Your quarterback play has been
Had an injury to the free agent pickup.
Yeah, right.
But, look, man, the thing about it is the man is well respected. Everybody wants to coach with him outside of Nick Saban. He's a guy that they want to learn from. He's got his pick. And when you're on the job only a week, you're not going to hear all the hirings in a week.
Yeah, it's just one of those things you're just going to have to, like Woodward, you're just going to have to trust him. That's one of his biggest strengths is hiring guys surrounding him. He does a great job of hiring great people on the staff.
And kudos to Coach Tommy Moffitt, who I have the utmost respect for. I know that he was let go by LSU. He's bringing in his own guy.
Yeah, but it was going to happen.
Yeah.
No matter what.
But he's bringing in his own guy that's been around him since Central Michigan. We're talking about 20 years. And the guy's in his mid-30s, I think. He's the assistant strength coach at Notre Dame. It hadn't been announced yet.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been with him since he was a player for Kelly. So, I understand that. But Moffitt, if he wants to do weightlifting for the next 20 years like a Gail Hatch, he is going to do incredible if he decides to have his own place. I think he's going to be he's on the cutting edge of this whole deal. So
yeah,
but I could see Tommy having his own place. You know what I mean?
I can see that too.
And being like he'd have to say I can't take any more business, that kind of guy, and have people work under him. And if he wants to do that, I don't know if he wants to get up and be another coach somewhere out of state with his family here. He's got a kid at Catholic High that's still got a couple of years left. But I have the utmost respect for Tommy Moffitt. I think he's a phenomenal person. He's always treated me with respect. I've had him on my TV show in the past. I've visited him at the gym a few times at LSU. And I'm going to be honest, he's one of the nicest guys over there.
Yeah, and he was a huge part of their 3 national championships they won over the last 20 years. If it wasn't for Tommy Moffitt, then he's one of those guys, like you said, on the cutting edge of everything. He was one of the first really made superstars of strength coaches, and he's done a great job. And he's a big reason why LSU has had their best success in the program's 100-year history over the last 20 years.
A lot of respect. I think the fan base agrees with me, Jace. They love Tommy. They love what he did. It's just one of those things. When you bring in a guy like this, he's got his own guy.
When coaching changes happen, man, it's just the way it goes.
Yeah, but Tommy's going to always be a part of this weightlifting association and powerlifting and
that whole tree.
He'll still be involved. And you know what? If he wants to be a consultant, if he wants to be a coach, he could probably go to high school and be okay and be. Look, they pay a lot of money now for strength coaches in high school, believe it or not.
That's where he got to start, right, at John Curtis.
Would it be amazing if he went to Catholic High or something like that, or Jesuit or whatever?
And be around his boy, help him out, right?
That's probably what I'm thinking, because he's got his kid. He's got his last son at Catholic, 2 more years, who's a tight end. He's a big kid.
Yeah.
And so he's got a chance to be the best of the three when he's done. He's like 6'4",
Yeah,
the youngest son.
He was big in middle school, like 6, 7th grade. He was hard. You know what he was going to be.
That's what I would do. I'd just sit back and stay in Baton Rouge and watch my youngest son play high school ball. And, again, I just wanted to do a shout-out to him. Great guy, great family.
Yeah.
And, I think everything's going to be okay. Kelly is going to bring in a great staff. And some of these guys, you might not know them, but when you do their background checks, you're going to see they've been around a little bit. They've learned a lot. They've done a great job. I mean, they're in the running for guys at Wake Forest that have done good jobs. Ole Miss, Libby.
Yeah.
But there's all kind of – and, look, Brady's one of about 10 guys that want to come coach with Kelly.
Yeah, there's a big list. There are a lot of coaches out there, and he's going to keep his Louisiana guys to lean on that have been familiar with the state already, and he's going to get his guys that he has great relationships with, and they can coach. They can develop and coach these guys, and I think that's a really good combination. He gets a mix of both worlds on the staff.
Here's what I'm hearing. These are 3 coaches I think that'll be retained. Brad Davis, the O-line coach. I think he's really
I think he will be retained and will be back.
Corey Raymond, the DB coach.
Yep.
And Blake Baker, the linebackers coach. I think he's very impressed with Blake and what he's doing at Damone and Micah Bakersfield and that whole linebacker. And they had no depth this year at linebacker.
Yeah.
And Josh White didn't play. Antone Sampe didn't play. All these young linebackers they signed didn't play. Penn did, the freshman from
he played late Maryland. In the season.
But Baker, I think, is the guy that might keep at linebacker. And then whoever comes in D coordinator, I believe, they'll get a new D coordinator, probably a new D-line coach. And then everything else is on the table to hire coaches, I believe, on the offensive side.
Yeah.
And I think Austin Thomas will be retained as well.
Yeah, I agree.
And then everything else, like I said, is kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
But I think in a week from today, they'll have most of their coaches hired because of the way this was done early enough. And if they don't have 1 or 2 positions filled, that's okay. Because you don't need 20 guys to go out recruiting right now for early signing day. You need maybe 5, maybe 6.
Yeah, you just need like 3 or 4 guys to really hold down the fort until.
And then Kelly's in. Kelly's involved. It's not like he's coaching at Notre Dame anymore.
Yeah.
So Kelly can go to houses. He's never used his in-home visits with LSU. Isn't it crazy that he could go in the same in-home that he no longer has for a Notre Dame visit, Jace?
That's out of this world.
Isn't that crazy?
That is out of this world.
Because
really
legally,
crazy.
If he went in home with a kid that's committed to Notre Dame, then you can't go back in so many times. Now he can do it.
But he can do it since he's at LSU now.
So, hey, man, there are advantages to recruiting right now, and I don't look for LSU to lose many verbal commitments unless Kelly wants to change 1 or 2. Maybe his philosophy is different on the kind of players that he wants.
Right. But I think it's just so late in the process. I think he's just going to have to rely on some of these guys that they've already built relationships with and say, hey, the guys that want to be at LSU, these are the guys that we're going to get.
And Coach Kelly, call me, man. I would love to help you. I would love to help you in state on some very nuggets. Jace will tell you the guys that are very big-time sleepers. There's a few of them in the state that aren't ranked that can play. And I'm going to mention, again, Braden Johnson from Ponchatoula.
Yeah.
They won their game over Acadiana before we go. Big win for Ponchatoula. Hank Turney's 300th win. They're playing Zachary in the state championship. We'll talk about that Wednesday.
Yep.
But Braden, the kid, the D-tackle from Neville, Increment Sledge.
Yep.
The corner from Neville, DeBose. There's a lot of great players in the state that are being under-recruited right now. Even the quarterback from Jesuit, who I like, Larva.
Rivier. Yep.
Carter Couillard from Briarfield Academy, 8-man football.
8-man football, yep.
Great player. I think could go to LSU and be a great offensive guard. There's a lot of kids to mention that are under the radar for Coach Kelly that weren't being recruited by the prior staff.
Yeah, there are a lot of hidden gems around Louisiana, and it's also a good opportunity for these new head football coaches too around the state too. Now we got Brian Kelly, but the Raging Cajuns they announced their head football coach after Billy Napier left, and
DeSarmo.
Yep, DeSarmo, Matthew DeSarmo, and then
congratulations, Matthew.
Yep, he's the head coach now. I mean, big shoes to fill with what Billy Napier did, but I love the fact that they went inside their house.
Yeah, they kept
and got
the
their
staff.
guy. Yep,
the staff I would say is going to be kept together with them minus the ones Napier brings with him to Florida. Now the thing is, can UL keep Napier from taking some graduate transfers from UL?
Yeah.
And some guys that have a year left that could leave. And will LSU go after some of the UL players that could be graduate transfers, like Max Mitchell in the O-line?
Yeah.
From
That would be important, too, because
Look,
they probably have the best O-line in the country.
Everything's on the table when it comes to recruiting and coaches. There is no loyalty. And
no. And there's not.
The Sormo's going to have to protect the fort in Lafayette, keep those guys together, because there's going to be guys trying to go to his roster, right, and cherry pick. And the same thing with Notre Dame. I know Kelly didn't say anything, but you can guarantee if Michael Mayer, the tight end, says, "Hey, coach, I want to come to LSU,"
that would be great.
Michael, we'll take you.
Yeah, we would definitely take you in.
Or if this Rocco Spindler, who was a big O-lineman last year, that was a teammate of Dillinger in Michigan, number 1 O-lineman in the country. Remember he signed with Notre Dame?
Yep.
What if Rocco Spindler says, "Hey, I want to go join Dillinger. I'm going to call coach." I'm sure Kelly will say, "Come on down."
Oh, I'm sure there's some guys from Notre Dame.
What a name, Rocco.
Yeah.
Rocco Spindler.
That's a perfect name for an offensive lineman there, I would have to say.
6'5",
Rock'em sock'em.
300, redshirted this year, big time, 5 40 at Notre Dame. He was a teammate of Dillinger on the same Michigan high school team, and they were the 2 top offensive linemen in that area, not just Michigan, but Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin,
and
Illinois.
That's where his connections are, and that's where you get those big guys.
I'm just throwing out stuff. It could happen. It could happen. Everybody's trying to cherry pick everybody's roster right now, and Nick Saban's doing it too.
Yep.
I've already seen that Jerari Gibbs, the running back from Georgia Tech, who had a phenomenal year that LSU tried to sign 2 years ago, they're trying to get him to go to Alabama.
Yep.
And he's a first-round pick one day, and, Mr. Saban is always going to cherry pick the best transfers.
They have some big names in the transfer portal. I mean, the Ohio State freshman that signed with was a 5-star, big name.
Ewers.
Yeah, Ewers. He announced that he was in the portal.
But LSU can't bring him in because Nussmeier and him are from the same town, same area.
Right. I heard Texas Tech might be a school he likes. And then TCU, their 5-star running back, he announced that he's in the portal. That's a little interesting there, too.
I don't think LSU's going back on him, though.
Yeah, right.
Out of Galliano North Shore High School.
Yep.
Might see him at Texas. You never know.
We'll see. And then also one more nugget about college football. Just give me your reactions to the top 4. They announced it the other day. I thought we'd get a little chaos, but we didn't. I mean, what pretty much held serve from the last couple of weeks.
I'm disappointed in Oklahoma State. I'm disappointed watching that game, Jace. Coach Gundy's on the 1-yard line twice in that game, and Baylor just stones him. Okay.
Yeah, it's a game of inches.
And then play calling was just like, what are you doing? Like outside wide, you lose 3 yards. You're on the 1. I mean, what about it reminds me LSU Missouri game. Remember? You had 4 downs to get a yard, right? Just jump over the pile and put the ball out, right?
Yeah.
But they're running all these power eyes and sweeps to the left and the right, and Aranda, give him credit.
Yep.
It made him a defensive genius after that day, and he wins the Big 12, and he's now this
4 interceptions by the defense. And talk about all the LSU connections, too. I mean, Aranda, you have Grimes on the staff. You
Southeastern former head coach.
Yep, Ron Roberts is the defensive coordinator. You have Ika playing in the middle of the field.
It goes to show you that Orgeron signed him, but he couldn't put them where they needed to be.
Yeah.
Because Ika's he's going to be a high draft pick now.
Yeah, he's dominating.
At LSU, he didn't advance. He wasn't developed.
Right.
And you look at him, and it kind of hurts LSU's feelings. Like, oh my goodness, he could have been an LSU.
Also, got to give a shout out to your boy Blake Shapen.
Yes.
I mean, he looked really good on Saturday.
Blake's dad listens to our program.
Yeah, Mr. Shapen.
I'm gonna tell you something. I campaigned for Blake. Remember?
Yeah.
And people like, oh, Lee, shut up, whatever. And I'm like, listen.
He's good.
I watched him play several times, and look what he's done. He doesn't only manage, but he's got an arm, and he's tough, and he's going to get better for them. And
that was only his second start.
Yeah, because of an injury to a junior.
Yeah.
And this guy's done a better job, and actually he won the title for them, but he's only a redshirt freshman. and they took T.J. Finley over Shapen. Okay?
Yeah.
And also A&M chose Haynes King over Shapen because of the height.
Yep, that was...
You got to, people.
that's pretty overrated. If you look at
overrated.
height, Drew Brees, Kyler Murray,
This guy, and look, he proved
Russell Wilson.
He proved it. He managed and did what he's supposed to do, but he's a smart guy. He's got a good arm. And the more he plays, the better he'll get. But Blake Shapen's got a chance to play in the NFL one day. He reminds me of that Missouri quarterback, Jace, that was with the Saints for a long time.
Oh, yeah, I know you're talking. Chase Daniel?
Chase Daniel.
Yeah, Chase Daniel.
That's who Blake Shapen reminds me of.
That's a good comparison. Yeah.
Chase Daniel was a great athletic game manager with an arm at Missouri. And, and look, he's been in the NFL like 9 years as a backup. Not shabby.
No, not shabby at all.
Blake Shapen could be on the staff. He could have been our starter this year or Max, but he would have been there to fight with Max, right, in the future.
Yeah.
But, again, he wanted to go to LSU. I'm just putting it out there. He wanted to go to LSU, and USC offered him late.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. He was talking about it on their podcast.
It was between USC and Baylor and a couple other big-time schools. And LSU reached out to him like the day before he committed, and then they didn't hear from him again. And he committed to Baylor. And, look, what a great job, Blake Shapen. Kudos to you, man.
Yeah, definitely. Congratulations, and kudos to Blake and his dad, Ken. And
and one final thing. We're over an hour. We said we weren't going to do an hour a day.
Just how it goes.
Let's take a quick break and win the show in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But we're going to come back. I want to mention Georgia, Alabama.
Yeah, let's mention.
I'm so disappointed.
We have to mention that.
I want to call Kirby Smart Rick. I mean, it's like Mark Rick Part 2.
Georgia was exposed. They were really exposed.
We'll take a break. We'll come back and talk about how disappointed I am. Alabama won again. And the rest of Louisiana's got to be upset like me. We'll be right back.
Come and visit the majestic mansion in the marsh. Gros Savon, Waterfowl, and Wildlife Lodge. Gros Savon is the true sportsman's paradise. Gros Savon Lodge has everything for you from fresh and saltwater fishing, alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, and eco-tours. Located south of Lake Charles. Call 337-598-2357 or visit www.grosavon.com for more information and schedule your trip to the majestic mansion in the marsh, Gros Savon, Waterfowl, and Wildlife Lodge, the true sportsman's paradise today.
Welcome back. We're going to end the show with the Alabama, Georgia, Atlanta, Peach Bowl, whatever you want to call it, SEC championship game.
Yeah.
They have a Peach Bowl in Atlanta, but Alabama wins another SEC championship, Jace. LSU almost beat Alabama this year.
So did Auburn. Auburn almost beat Alabama.
Arkansas
almost beat them.
Georgia,
Florida.
All right. The greatest defense ever. That's all you heard all year. Oh, the greatest defense ever. And then you see Alabama come out and start running. And they run wide on them, and they wear them out. And they were blitzing, and they couldn't get to Alabama.
It shows if they couldn't put any pressure on Bryce Young, those DBs went whole against their receivers.
LSU's DBs are better than theirs.
And Kirby Smart even said that was his biggest concern, and like the secondary last year was better than the secondary this year. And
guess what? This walk-on quarterback showed that he's not that guy.
Yeah, he's not. He's a solid quarterback, but he's not the quarterback that's going to be needed to beat Alabama.
Georgia don't have that guy at running back either. They don't have that guy.
Yeah.
And so Bama's like, guess what? We're going to shut you down. Your 3 tight ends? Yeah, throw to your 3 tight ends all game, and they'll get 10 catches. But guess what? They're not going to get in the end zone. And Bama just shut them down. And they put 8 in the box, and they just shut the run game of Georgia down. They rattled the quarterback of Georgia.
Yeah, I would not be surprised next time, because let's just face it, this game's going to happen again.
And it's not going to be any different.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you give Saban a month. I don't even care if – I know Michi's not playing.
Yeah.
But, man, they've got the greatest receiver in the game, and number one.
Can you believe he transferred from Ohio State?
And he was their fourth receiver.
He was their fourth receiver.
And he's faster than the three.
Yeah, like he looks just as good or better than the other guys at Ohio State, in my opinion.
Saban put in Ja'Cory Brooks, a freshman from Miami. No drop off. He brought in our guy from West
Slade Bolden in the slot. Yeah,
I mean, no drop off. They get JoJo Earl back for the playoffs. As much as you want Alabama to lose, and you go, oh, well, Robinson's the only running back they got now, it doesn't matter.
Him and Sanders are the only two they've been playing.
In the way they coach these kids and develop them, it's just off the charts. Belichick good. I mean, it's Belichick and Saban. They rule football, okay?
Yeah, they do.
But let me just say this before we go, and then whatever you want to say, Jace, about the game. If Kirby Smart loses to Saban again this year,
he's not going to be in. That's why I said he's not going to be him ever.
You realize all their momentum will be poof like smoke? Do you realize all this recruiting talk and all this greatest ever, it's just gone? Like, it'll be his, fifth time to lose to him maybe if he loses to him again?
Yeah, so
he's lost to him in the national championship.
He lost him in the national championship, which they should have won.
Right.
That was when they should have won. They lost to in the SEC championship. Remember when both times backup quarterbacks were coming in because Hurts came in,
Tua,
and then Tua in the other game. So those are two they lost, but they should have won.
Devontae Smith caught the long ball.
Yeah, right.
But just imagine, you could tell Kirby did not want to do the interview on selection day. He had the eyes of like, do I have to do this interview? Like, what do I tell my alumni, my kids, I don't care how many recruiting classes you sign. Number one, you can't lose to Nick twice in a year when it means something. And then he's about to go 0-6 when it matters. And the Georgia people, I do feel sorry for them right now because between Joe Burrow, between Saban, they've crushed their will to want to be winners. I'm telling you.
Yeah, right. It wasn't for those two things.
Joe Burrow in 2019 just crushed Georgia fans, man, okay?
Because how many national championships Georgia would have right now if it wasn't for Joe Burrow and LSU and Alabama? They would be winning every year.
But, I mean, if you don't want to become Mark Richt Part 2, you better win one soon because guess what? They might have a lot of decommitments if they lose to them again. Recruits are going to go, well, man, Georgia can't ever win a championship. I mean, that's kind of where it's going. I hate that. But, I can't imagine, though, if he loses to them again.
Yeah, you can't reincarnate Herschel Walker.
Or Lindsey Scott.
Yeah.
Or a guy named Buck Bellew, a quarterback.
Yep.
Or bring back any of those first-round pick running backs. But they don't have that guy at running back at Georgia.
No.
And let me just say this. Overrated because of this. They played Kentucky, who wasn't as good as everybody thought they were. South Carolina, they beat them. They're down. Tennessee's down. Florida's down. Missouri. Come on.
And their best,
Vanderbilt.
Clemson went on to have the down year.
Their big win.
And now that's probably their big win.
They beat Big Bad Vandy. Okay. They
Georgia
beat
Tech.
Missouri. I mean, look, not a tough schedule. And exploit it. And you go,
maybe the one game was Arkansas, being them
the only
decisively.
The only way they could beat Alabama, Jace, in a rematch, if George Pickens goes off.
Do we see JT Daniels this next game?
You might.
Yeah, I think so. I think you see JT Daniels this next game.
He was rubbing that helmet trying to put it on, and they wouldn't let him in.
Yeah, I think you'll see him. I'm curious. Do you think they play him in the playoff game against Michigan?
Does Eric Gilbert finally play?
Yeah.
I know one thing. They throw to the tight end way too much, and I love the tight end.
No, he's good. He's
number 19.
Yeah, he's good.
The freshman from Napa Valley who visited LSU, by the way.
Ooh.
Archeron couldn't land him.
Man.
But they got 3 tight ends, but they rely on the tight end too much.
Yeah, they don't have. Well, Pickens is really the only receiver they really have.
No screen passes. You notice that? No screen passes to the running backs. Will Anderson's a stud.
You also got to give credit to, I don't know, the most improved position overnight was Alabama's offensive line because they didn't play good at all
they picked up
against
all
Auburn.
Blitzes.
And they played phenomenal.
Without their center.
Right.
Their center's new. He's a guy out of Buford, Georgia that's played 2 games. He came in against us a little bit, LSU. He came in against Arkansas, and then he started this game. He's, redshirt freshman from Georgia, out of all places. So they don't even have the Darren Doucourt, their center. It's hurt.
major kudos to your buddy, Doug Marrone.
Oh, Doug Marrone,
really coaching these guys.
Doug.
That's a heck of a job because they did not play good against Auburn, and then just to turn it around against that so-called dominant defensive front four and just protect. Like Bryce Young had all day to throw. Like he was pointing to his receivers, had time to eat a sandwich back there, like you say. And against
peanuts,
that defense,
and peanuts and popcorn.
Yeah, right, and dessert too.
But you know what? At least you can say as an LSU fan, because Bryce Young did it on LSU. He ran in the end zone. He kind of like awkwardly ran in and went out. He did that on Georgia. Like, I'm running around. You can't catch me.
He has that Russell Wilson kind of ability.
And let me tell you, kudos to him. I didn't think he was that good at first.
Yeah, he is.
He's 6 foot 190, and he's tough. Mm-hmm. He's taking some hits, man.
Yeah, it's sacked 6 or 7 times against Auburn, and then what he does, he leads the team 99 yards down the field, and they tie the game on a touchdown. He's your Heisman. I mean, he's your Heisman winner.
I'm tired of college coaches going, well, this guy's hurt. We're not as good. Alabama has injuries all the time. It never affects Nick.
There's no excuse.
He has key injuries. Remember Dylan Moses was hurt last year, and they won it all anyway?
Yeah, Chris Allen was hurt this year.
They've had 3 DNs go down.
And some running backs go down this year. Now Mechie is going down.
They don't use excuses. They just keep going. And he gets his teams up. Saban got his team more prepared than Georgia. I can't believe Georgia did not match their intensity. I was so shocked that they showed up in an SEC title game, Jace, and Georgia did not look very excited. They didn't look intensively all out.
And I think that has to deal with like what the media was saying. Like with Georgia, like no matter what, win or lose, they're in. They're in the playoff. Alabama, they had to win that game. They had to win that game to be in the playoff.
To win an SEC championship, right? In your backyard, in Georgia.
Yeah.
With 90% of the fans. I've been to those games like a lot of listeners. It's hard to get a ticket in Georgia to play an SEC championship game. I think it's not really fair.
Yeah, I still don't get why they play that in Georgia.
The game
every
should
year.
be in like Tennessee or something. But
yeah.
But you know what?
Put it in Michigan. That way nobody has home field at all.
Kirby Smart did not get his team up to play. And it kind of – I'm not even a Georgia fan. It kind of bothers me. Like, why did you not get these guys up? The rat poison works both sides of the ball here.
Well, Nick Saban would talk. He hates it when his team gets how he talked about, but he loves it when his team gets counted out. He loves it.
But he's the Newt Rockne of getting guys to play hard. He's
just never count out Nick Saban.
Nick Saban has the mental psyche over your brain. Like he knows how to hit those chords to make you do what you need to do, even if you don't even like him.
Yeah,
he will test your will, and as long as he's walking the sidelines in Alabama, he's 70 years old, and everybody wants to say, "Oh, he's old. He's old." Guess what?
He looks a really young 70.
Let me tell you something. He is not underperforming as a coach. He hasn't lost anything. And I don't want them to win it all, but I'm just going to tell you now. I don't see them losing to Cincinnati, okay?
No.
And I see them beating Georgia again. Or guess what? It might be Michigan.
I tell you, Michigan has looked really impressive. I've been really impressed.
Jim Harbaugh has done a lot. He ran off a lot of me guys. And just for all those recruiting star fans out there, he ran off all his big names. And guess what? They're a better team.
He made all the adjustments needed. And, there was as far as coach of the year, Jim Harbaugh has to be the coach of the year. Because everybody was saying he was going to be fired in September.
They had already written down Ohio State beating him.
Yeah,
And he did it. And guess what? You don't see that often when your job's on the line, you get through it, and you make it, and he's going to get a contract extension now. It was looking pretty bleak for him before the year, I have to admit.
Yeah, it did, but he pulled through. He got through, which what Kirby Smart is struggling right now, being Alabama. The thing about Harbaugh, can he beat Ohio State? And not only he beat Ohio State this year, but it dominated Ohio State in that game.
I want to say this. I bet you I'm like every listener in the state, Jace. Nobody wants Alabama to win this, unless you're an Alabama fan lost in Louisiana, okay? If you have Alabama license plates, you're from Alabama, I get it. I get it.
Right.
But most people in Louisiana, they want Cincinnati or Michigan to win it all, or Georgia. I want Georgia to not win it. I want Cincinnati or Michigan to win.
Now, do you think that Cincinnati has any shot in that game?
I think they play Bama close a half, but their quarterback is not very good throwing the ball. He struggles. Watch the Tulane game. Watch some of their games. They're ball control. Look, they're physical now. They got some Big Ten linemen now. They're strong, but they have trouble getting big plays. And I don't know how you beat Alabama without. But here's the deal: those long drives Catholic had your team in the state championship. If Cincinnati has long drives, Bama does give up the run. They do give up some runs, but
yeah,
I just don't see Cincinnati running with Alabama's offense. I don't see them getting to the quarterback. But I want Cincinnati to beat Alabama.
Well, they have a better secondary than Georgia.
But I'm an underdog guy. I want Cincinnati to win it all. And if not Cincinnati, I want Harbaugh to win it all. That doesn't affect LSU's recruiting or anything here. Georgia, I just don't see Georgia beating Michigan. I'm going to tell you right now. I see it to be.
That should be a good game. I'm looking forward to seeing Michigan and Georgia play. That should be a physical, hard-fought game.
I see Michigan being more physical than Georgia with Aiden Hutchinson, and that defense is incredible.
They got the two running backs. Those two running backs Michigan has are good.
No line's strong and mean. And their quarterback does a great job of doing what he needs to do, managing.
Yep.
I think you see Michigan, Alabama national championship.
I agree.
But I want Cincinnati to beat Alabama. You know what? I'm just tired of Alabama winning. It's not that I even don't like Alabama. I just want someone new.
Yeah.
I mean, just new.
I mean, it's good that we have some new blood in here because.
And I respect Saban. I respect him.
Yeah.
I worked with him here when I did contract work with him at LSU. I respect him. He's incredible. He's one of the best ever. But I think people are just tired of seeing Alabama in the national championship game.
Yeah, it's not good for college football. We have the same team win over and over and over and over and over again. But it is good. It's encouraging that we have some new blood in the playoffs because it used to be Bama, Oklahoma, Clemson, Ohio State. That was like the theme every year. At least you get to see Michigan in it. You see Cincinnati in it.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. If Cincinnati beats Alabama, wouldn't it be crazy that a team from Ohio, second level, would play maybe Michigan?
That'll be incredible in itself if Cincinnati found a way. The little brother.
The little brother of Ohio State.
Yeah, being the big bad boy, Alabama.
And then they'd have to beat Michigan or Georgia, but I think it's going to be Michigan. But Cincinnati, every time I think a team has a chance to beat Alabama, I'm wrong, Jace.
Yeah.
I think Fickell's a great coach. I think they'll play Alabama hard. They played Georgia hard in the bowl game a year ago in the Peach Bowl.
And they should have won that game.
JT Daniels is a quarterback, but I think Cincinnati will play them a game. I don't think it'll be a blowout. But again, if Fickell beats, can you believe if Fickell was to beat Saban, that program, you're talking about going to have the greatest recruiting class in the history of Cincinnati. That's the biggest game. You realize that's the biggest game in the history of their school?
Yeah.
Like, that is the biggest game ever. So that might be a little different than them playing like a good Michigan State or a good Washington. Remember this?
Well, this is a proven moment. Like, everybody was saying, well, they don't really play anybody. They just played Notre Dame this year and then just everybody else.
Tough, man.
But this is your proven moment. This is, okay, you want the big bright lights, like Coach Kelly said, the Broadway stage. You want that opportunity? Well, we won't give it to you, and you're going to have to beat Alabama. You're going to have to play them.
You know what Cincinnati can do? They can stop the run. And Bama's not great running the ball.
That was the one thing from Saturday. You saw the glaring weakness. They can't close the game out. Like when they tried running the football with
and Georgia couldn't
Robinson.
take advantage. They tried to give it to Georgia.
Yeah, right. They couldn't close the game out. And I think if it's a closer game, it might come back to bite Bama. That's the biggest glaring weakness I've seen with Alabama.
The walk-on quarterback for Georgia was rattled. He checked out with about 11 minutes left in that game. He just could. He was looking for Anderson, and those D-line, they were coming after him. And Georgia's got a good O-line, but he did not make good quarterback decisions.
It reminds me a lot of the LSU 2011 team. Remember, Jarrett Lee was a quarterback the whole season, and then when George Jefferson came in, they gave him the reins. I think it's a similar situation here. We'll see JT Daniels in the playoffs.
Go Cincinnati. Bearcats. Go Michigan Wolverines. I'm not a fan of either school, but I want those
I'd rather them than Bama, Georgia.
Right.
You know?
I do. I want, and people can go, Lee, why are you pulling against the SEC? It doesn't matter. All these schools recruit against each other. I want to see a Cincinnati Michigan national championship.
I think it'd be good for college football to see something different. I mean, but I think it's just setting up for the inevitable.
Nobody wants to see a Georgia-Alabama rematch.
Yeah, but sadly, I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be Bama, Georgia.
And Kirby Smart is not going to get any sleep for like 3 weeks. Well, 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be. I'm excited to see that Michigan game though, because I definitely can see Michigan being Georgia. But man,
we'll see.
We'll see. We'll have to see.
We'll see. All right, Jace, this is it.
Yep.
We went an hour and 18 minutes.
Well, there is a lot of talk about college football.
Yeah, I mean, we got it in. I appreciate it. If we missed something, look, we're going to talk more high school stuff Wednesday.
Dome Weekly.
Oh, Dome Week and ULL Cajun Field.
Right, yep.
There's 2 places, just so people don't get confused.
Sure.
Hopefully next year we'll be saying the Superdome only.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hope everybody has a great Monday. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.